All right. We about to get started here in just a second. So yeah, keep in mind, folks, when I set a live to go on a scheduled live, I usually start it about anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes early, just allowing people to get notifications so they know, in fact, I am live, and so they can join in and not miss out on the conversations. And conversations we're going to have today regarding the A series, the future of the A series, and the rumored Pixel 10a. So, for most of you guys out there who are joining in, hi, hello, welcome. Glad to have you guys here. And if you could do me a solid, hit the like button because it truly helps out the channel, as well as turning on notifications if you just subscribe so you don't miss another time when I go live or when a video drops for you guys to view. And if you guys could hype up the live afterwards, I would appreciate that. But more than anything, there is a poll that is being offered right now. If you guys can go ahead and choose an option on that poll to let me know what you guys think, what you guys are feeling, and we'll get into all that here. So a lot pretty much, for expectations with the Google Pixel 10a. I've been seeing a lot of it online. I've been seeing a lot of it being said, in areas where people are discussing the Pixel 10a. And, to be quite honest, I mean, there are some things good about it. There are some things I'm a bit concerned about. But again, these are only rumored specifications, so nothing is really yet set in stone. However, I know that most people tend to believe the rumors when it comes to Pixels because it is, I guess, one of the most easiest leaked devices when it comes to new devices that's going to be coming out there. So, it's, man, from what I've been reading so far, I'm kind of like in a crossroads. And I don't know. It's just, it's weird. Feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, emotional outbursts when it comes to the Pixel 10a. And of course, the entire A series, and should the A series end with the Pixel 9a? Should it just be that, basically 3 generations of the A series, six generations of the A series, and then pretty much like level down? And what could possibly be the future if they don't end the A series, but they were to kind of revamp it? Could they possibly do it? I'm going to share my ideas on that, my thoughts, and what could potentially be the future of the A series and whatnot. So, when it comes to the Google A series devices, there are people who actually prefer to go after those rather than the flagship models. Being the fact, right, like the Pixel 10a, not 10a, sorry, the Pixel 10, I don't have the 10a, the 10 being, $799. Some people may find that to be, too rich for their blood. And it's no diss to anybody out there. We are living in really hard times. I mean, rent is high, food is high, gas is high. So if you can get a really good phone for a cheaper price than the flagship base models, it's definitely worth taking a look at. And I always have said that because, I am a fan of the A series devices. The 9A is the most current A series device. I am giving my dad the 8A since I'm not really using it. I don't want it to just sit around and collect dust, so my dad can make use out of it. But I still have the 7A I use as a webcam. And I still have my 5A, the 4A, the 3A. So I have pretty much almost all the A series devices. The only one I don't have is the 4A 5G, which is very similar to the 5A. So I guess it's why I never really pursued it. I never really went to go after it. So in the very beginnings of the A series devices, the 3A pretty much was mid-range. It was a mid-range device. The 4A followed in suit the same way, the 4A 5G, and even the 5A. It wasn't until the 6A where the A series literally became almost a mirror of the flagship. And, the only real differences was either the camera sensors were spec'd differently or the body of the phone wasn't glass. And you guys know how I feel about glass phones, right? I mean, they're just glass. don't make the phone any better. Other than the fact that people will be like, well, it feels premium in the hand. And okay, well, it feels premium in the hand, doesn't really do much. You can have the worst shitty specs in a phone and it made it be, made of glass. Does that make it a great phone? Absolutely not. But before I get into a lot of just like, should the A series be around, I want to kind of focus on the Pixel 10a. I really want to kind of just dive right into that. So I am recording this too as well, just so I can clip out highlights and everything like that for the second channel. I'm going to start doing that. So besides having shorts on the short side of tech, I'm also going to clip some of the live stream moments and post them there. They're like, little small clips, maybe like 1-2 minute parts of the live streams, for just quick replays. For people that don't want to go through the entire live stream to get to a certain point, maybe, I just figured like some people might want to like show friends like, hey, this is what was said about this phone. And rather than having to go through like a whole hour of footage just to try to find that one part, if I just find those parts and clip them out into little segments and put them on the secondary channel, I think, that'd be cool for people. I think it'd be helpful. So looks like we got one answer so far on the poll, and person says yes, they should get rid of the Pixel A series. Cool. Thanks for answering that question. All right, so let's just kind of go into the Pixel 10a because this is a bit of concern for me on certain things. Okay, as you guys see, yes, that is an image, right there. It's an image of the Pixel 9a. Apparently, the Pixel 10a would kind of like look the same as the 9a as what everyone's guesstimating that it's going to be. And they're expecting an early release for the 10a. So they're expecting, Q1 of 2026, right? Maybe, as early as February of 2026, maybe, January, because Google has shifted its release dates for its device, right? So, to this year, 2025 was the second year that the Pixels were released in August rather than October, where they used to release them at. This year we got the 10 series in August, and then we got the Fold model released in October. So, and I think they might be just sticking to that type of scheduling, allowing basically the Pixels to have the summer, as iPhones would have the entrance into fall season, and Samsung would continue to have the end of winter, beginning of spring for their flagships, and then of course their foldable devices released a little bit later on in the year. So they're expecting Q1 of 2026. So that's just right around the corner, right? We're already close to we are mid-October already. It's October 14th, and so we have half a month left before we're already in November. So what they're guesstimating is, again, a 6.3-inch display, and the resolutions being 2424 by 1080. Dual camera on the back, which I'm not upset about, because if they're going to start implementing a 3-camera setup on the base model, for like the Pixel 11, the Pixel 11 is going to have 3 camera sensors as the Pixel 10. Might as well have the A series kind of be 1 sensor less, which would make sense for it being there. Since a lot of us have always questioned that. We've always questioned, like, why have an A series of this when the base model pretty much has like the same thing, almost nearly spec the same. So creating that difference, I think, is really what people are just kind of like defining here when it comes to pricing. So it being a dual camera setup, I'm not going to be mad. For those people who are just out there talking about, oh, it better have 3 cameras like the Pixel 10, like, come on, man. Just quit lying. That's what I'm going to tell people. Quit lying about things. Just say it. You want the Pixel 10 at a $499 price. No one is going to blame you for feeling that way. And for sure, no one is really going to cramp on you, because lots of people would love to get the Pixel 10 for $499. Like, who would argue with cheaper prices? I always find it funny when people kind of walk on eggshells and they're like, oh my God, the Pixel 10a, it better have 3 cameras like the Pixel 10. Like, but if it does, then you guys are going to be complaining about why does the Pixel 10 even exist, or why does the 10a exist if it has almost everything that the 10 has? Like, come on. So a dual camera, not bad at all for them to have. They're claiming 5100 milliamp hour battery. I don't know if they're going to replicate the same as the 9A. Maybe they might push a little higher, 5200 milliamps, or maybe 5150, but that would be kind of crazy. No pun intended. They're claiming, again, 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage. This is where I'm also, kind of like just a little bit, if this is really, if these rumors really come into fruition, this is where I would be a little bit, hard pressed to be like, no. And, the premise has already been set, right? Pandora's box has already been opened. So everyone's mind has already been conditioned to 256 being the new base storage amount. So I figured they didn't do it with the Pixel 10. This would have been a perfect opportunity and a good selling point for the Pixel 10a to have 256 as its base model. And then, 512 as, it's a more upper class model, right? And it would be even sweeter if for some magical reason the 10a released in 3 storage options, 256, 512, and one terabyte. That would be crazy. And I honestly feel like that if they did that with the 10a, the 1 terabyte would be the most sought after. Because technically, if you think about it, it would probably be around the same price as the base model Pixel 10, but you're getting like, triple the storage of the Pixel 10. And, it would be a great selling point, right? To pay a similar price to what the Pixel 10 sold for, but having more storage, right? And then the amount of RAM they should pop in here now should be 12 gigabytes of RAM, not 8. Considering the fact that Google's very heavy on AI, that's what they're really pushing, right? A lot of people complain about the Tensor G5 not being as powerful as the Snapdragon 8 Elite. However, the Tensor G5 is superly accommodating for AI tasks that the Pixels do, because that's what the Pixel is. It's an AI phone. It's not a gaming phone. It's an AI phone. So a lot of the things you can do, I've been playing around with AI on my Pixel 10 and my Pixel 9a. I've been playing around in Google Photos and just remixing the photos I have in my photo album and just coming up with some different stuff. I posted them on social media. You guys follow me on the X platform or on Threads, and you guys may have seen them that I posted. So yeah, that's where it's at. Keep crying that, the Tensor G5 is not as strong for gaming, and I'll tell you, there are people who will tell you they buy Pixels not for gaming. So gaming is not on the top priority list for a lot of people out there who really don't have time in life to game anyways. When you got to be working, 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet, you don't have time to game. So anyways, but I would feel like 12 gigabytes of RAM should be the base amount for the Pixel 10a. With a lot of the AI stuff that's coming, you're going to want a good amount of RAM to be able to run these things and run them decently. It would be superly embarrassing to put out. What up, Nguyen Dang? Welcome here. Glad to have you here. It'd be super embarrassing for Google to put out a phone that can't execute 50% of the AI processing that, they've brought to the table for people to kind of play around with, whether it's, image, processing, video processing. Right now, one of the most embarrassing things with Google Pixels, and I'll call it as I see it, so even my fellow Pixel fans out there who may not agree with me, let's be real about things, but video boost, the fact that, recording video needs to be uploaded to the cloud in order for it to be processed to a higher resolution, to a much more better frame rate, and, to smoothen out the video, which by a lot of people reporting what video boost does, and they've waited, sometimes maybe 1 to 2 days for that video to fully process. That's pretty embarrassing. But of course, I know Google's end goal is to be able to have that type of processing done in-house on device. And that's why they are little by little making Gemini more powerful. But at the same time, too, you're going to want more RAM. So at least 12 gigs of RAM in the Pixel 10a should suffice to run a lot of the AI features that Google heavily shoves down our throat. So this 128 gigabyte of storage, this 8 gigabytes of RAM, this is not going to work out. The experience on the phone is going to be good. Of course, obviously, the user interface and fluidity, navigating the software is going to be good. But if you try to tap into a lot of those fun AI features, that's where you're going to be like, this could ruin it. It could ruin it for AI too. Let's be real about it. It could ruin what people's expectations of what AI is and what they're told by Google that it's supposed to be, and then when they use it and it doesn't live up to what their expectations is, could heavily impact the growth of AI, and people's expectations of it will change. It's kind of like how when you look at a lot of people who tend to hate on Android, And then they talk about like Android being super choppy and super slow and just annoying as hell. And then they go off and they explain that they had one Android phone in their entire life, and it was back in 2012, and they got it from Cricket Wireless for $50. And then you're like, oh, well, that's a very cheap Android phone. You can't base all Android phones on that, but people do that. And so just imagine if the AI experience is terrible or it's wishy-washy, that's going to be people's perception of AI, and they're never going to see it the way that, somebody that uses, say, for instance, the Pixel 10 Pro, how they experience AI on their phones. So, I mean, consistency is key. And this is one of those things when you hear tech tubers talk about consistency, this is one of those things they're talking about. Even something as small as the A series, which is supposed to be affordable, should at least deliver on that front. If it's a selling point for your entire brand, then even the smallest player in the team needs to be, as gifted and talented as the strongest player in the team. That's the way it should go. And so for that, I would say, there's 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. That's not looking pretty good. Here's another thing that, can kind of make or break people's perception on the Tensor and TensorFlow. That is the fact that it is rumored, and again, rumored, that the Pixel 10a is going to have the Google Tensor G4. If this is the case, people are definitely going to crap on this thing. Because everybody's about specs. No matter how much I want to change that fact, no matter how much I crusade for people to actually base things on experience, user experience, get it in your hand, use it. You don't have to buy the phone. Best Buy has demo units that you can go in there and you can play around with. Go in there, a couple of days out of the week and play with the phone, and then see what your perception is after that. That's what I would always tell people. People tend to look at paper, black and white, specs, what's written, the written word. This is why they say that, the written word is powerful. Someone sees Google Tensor G4 and automatically they're just going to be like, oh my God, this is going to be crappy. Even if it's stated that it's supposed to be a boosted Tensor G4. Because remember, this is one of the geniuses of the Tensor G processor chips. Okay, while they are what they are, they can accommodate in lower power consumption by lowering the performance, or they can increase the performance, boost it, as long as they're able to configure it to remain power efficient. It is adjustable. Okay, the Tensor G3 and the Pixel 8a is slightly, not boosted, but it's slightly, I don't want to say slowed, that just sounds so bad, but technically that's what they did. They kind of lowered the performance of the Tensor G3 compared to the Pixel 8 and the Tensor G3 in that phone. And they did the same thing with the Pixel 9a. They kind of cramped on it compared to the Pixel 9. So the Pixel 9, I believe, has one additional core more than the Tensor G4 in the Pixel 9a. Maybe do like a dedicated video on that, kind of explaining the differences in performance and power between the Tensor G4 on a flagship and the Tensor G4 on a mid-range, basically. Even though I consider the latest A series devices to be flagships that are just plastic bodied, I'll just go with what everyone sees it as. No matter what, plastic to them means cheap. So I'll just go along with that, even though I don't firmly believe in that. But yes, they are spec'd down. They are dumbed down specs. But there you go. That's the best way to put it. They are dumbed down specs. But that's in the Pixel 9a. So to me, I'm just wondering why they didn't dumb down the specs for the Tensor G5. And maybe this comes to mind when I think about it. Maybe the reason that they're going with the Tensor G4 and not the Tensor G5 is because since the Tensor G5 is built by TSMC, that they didn't really have, they didn't really have them build two different types. See, this is the thing here. Like I said, the Tensor G4 and the Pixel 9a has one core less than the Tensor G4 and the Pixel 9. So maybe this is one of those things that TSMC did. It just built out the 3nm processor, the Tensor G5, for the Pixel 10, and so there's not really a way for them to kind of dumb down it where the power and the efficiency is a little bit dumbed down from the Pixel 10. Because then again, if it performs as powerful as the Pixel 10, and its efficiency with power consumption is on par with the Pixel 10, it's going to raise that same question. Why is there a Pixel 10a and a Pixel 10 if they are identically in performance? Because there are people like myself who really kind of judge a phone based upon the software experience, basically the user experience, and its performance. We look at that closely more than we will look at the hardware of things. We do know that, hardware is important, but hardware does not run without software. If you have nothing telling the hardware what to do, then what the hell is it going to do? So I'm thinking that's why they're going Tensor G4. And maybe, like it says in this one, in this situation, the Tensor G4 is boosted compared to the Pixel 9a. So my first thought is that they're going to use the Tensor G4 that you find in the Pixel 9 and 9 Pro, and they're going to put that in the Pixel 10a. That's what it means to be boosted, because remember, the 9a's G4 chip is slightly dumbed down. So putting the exact same chip that you find with the amount of cores that the 9 has would be considered boosted in the A series lineup. So that's what I'm thinking when they say, Tensor G4 slightly boosted, is that it's basically going to be the same processor chip you find in the Pixel 9 flagship. So there's other things that's kind of going on here. Right now they're doing these weird comparisons. I don't know why. The phone's not even out yet, but so here's a little bit more. And by the way, the website is phonearena.com. Let me go ahead and just full screen this for you guys. So here are some of the things that they're talking about. Availability, Q1 of 2026. Design, back is plastic, the side is aluminum. So they're believing that it's going to maintain what the Pixel 9a did. IP68 water and dust resistance is what they claim. Optical in-screen fingerprint, so not moving to ultrasonic, which I think they should move to ultrasonic. It's a much better biometric fingerprint reader, but optical is still, not bad. Okay. Of course, the volume control. Well, they think volume control, lock and unlock key. So I don't know about that. That almost sounds like as if they're copying Apple. But what they say here, for resolution 2424 by 1080 at a 20 by 9 aspect ratio, 421 pixels per inch, and they're claiming Corning Gorilla Glass 3. If so, I would like them to step it up a little bit. Sticking with, I don't know how good. Maybe it's because Corning Gorilla Glass 3 obviously does really good. I'm not sure. The A series are really good phones. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. We'll get into that. Right now, I'm just going over rumored specs of the Pixel 10a. But I don't know. Maybe the Corning Gorilla Glass 3, did so well that's the glass that they're gonna stick with for for cracks and scratch resistance. Even though that's it's glass, it's going to break. You have to keep that in mind. There's no such thing as an indestructible glass on a smartphone. Again, Tensor G4 4nm processor. They say it's going to be slightly boosted, and this is their guesstimation of the cores, right? So 1 3.1 gigahertz Cortex X4 core, 3 2.0 gigahertz Cortex A720s, and then 4 1.92 gigahertz Cortex A520s. And for the GPU, the Mali G715MC7, and they're going with LPDDR5X RAM with 128 gigabytes of internal storage at UFS 3.1, and then they're gonna go on it with that there's a 128 and 256. And you guys heard me at the beginning of the live stream. I feel like that 256 should be the starter for the 10A. Give people a reason to really kind of boast about it. They're supposed to launch with Android 16 and get up to 7 years of software updates. They're claiming possibly 5100 milliamp hour battery again, a lithium ion. I think that the 10A should also kind of switch it up to a silicon carbon battery. That's just me. Other people might disagree and be like, no, they should do it for the Pixel 11. If you do it for the Pixel 10A, you have all this time to work out any type of kinks or problems that it would have before your next flagship comes out, so that way you can use it in your next flagship, right? Use the A series as test dummies. 23 watt wire charging, 7.5 watt wireless charging. Okay. For the camera, they're gonna assume 48 megapixel with f1.7 aperture, a 25 millimeter focal length lens, and a half-inch size lens. So yeah, then they're thinking 13 megapixel ultra wide, f2.2 aperture, and then recording in 4K, 60 frames per second, 1080p, as much as 240 frames per second, and the front camera being a 13 megapixel that can record in 4K, 30 frames per second. So for Bluetooth 5.3, of course, like all these other things here. 5G ready LTE-A HSDPA plus and nano SIM and eSIM. So they're gonna go out and say that the A series would have physical SIM still yet. I mean, that's what they say. As far as with Android Central, it's a little bit different. I mean, they kind of talk about it a little bit. Of course, there's some more leaks, but again, these are just leaks. These are just rumors, and yeah, I think one of the highlighted things about it is that, it's rumored that it's not going to get the Tensor G5. And so it would actually, be the first in a while. So like people have like this thing, what they say, and I got to remind people, the first generation of Pixel A series devices didn't have the same processor chip as the flagships, right? So the 3A, the 4A, the 4A 5G, and the 5A, they all had, either a 700 series chip from Qualcomm or a 600 series chip from Qualcomm. They didn't have the same. When switching over to the Tensor lineup, yes, this Pixel 10a, if it's the G4, is going to be the first Tensor-based Pixel A that doesn't have the same chip as its, flagship brothers. One in this case would be the Pixel 10s and the Tensor G5. Now, I know a lot of speculation is going to drop regarding, the reasonings of using the Tensor G4 processor over using the Tensor G5. Honestly, I just feel like, it comes easy to Google to make these decisions when it comes to what processor to use in the Pixel 10a, because for so many years, the community has just consistently complained about the A series versus the flagship. And so to them, it's like, oh, well, we can put in a boosted Tensor G4, aka the same level of specifications of the Tensor G4 and the Pixel 9 flagship, because then it won't be identical to the Pixel 10. Like the Pixel 10s will still hold that higher moniker above the 10A because they're using the Tensor G5 processor and the 10A is using the G4. In fact, like I said, for my complaints, it's really just going to be that fact that it's using 128 gigs of internal storage base, and that it's using 8 gigabytes of RAM as base. Now, if it was to do like, say, $399 for 128/8 gigabytes of RAM, that would be pretty cool. $499 for 256 and 12 gigabytes of RAM, and then bring in a 512 capacity and a 1 terabyte, capacity. That's reaching. I know it is. Someone out there is like, that's reaching too much for it. Look, wishful thoughts. I know they're not going to do that, but wishful thoughts, because it would be so cool. See, wow, we got another vote, so it's a 50-50 split now. There's 4 votes. 2 voted yes, end the A series. 2 voted no, do not end the A series. Here's the thing. The A series devices has a lot going for them. Okay, and you definitely want to have, product for a market that doesn't want to spend a lot of money. That's one of the things that I opened up this podcast with today, is the fact that that's what the A series are known for. You get just about almost everything that the flagships will give as far as user experience and features, but you're not paying as much because you're not hung up on body build, you're not hung up on a glass back, you're not hung up on a heavy phone, you're not hung up on all that other stuff. What you want is just being able to use all the same things that flagship phone can do in a cheaper form factor. So the fact that this phone is plastic in the back, the fact that it's got aluminum side rails, the fact that it's got 1 camera sensor less, that's something that people can live with. Any day of the week, I put this in somebody's hand. If I was to create a completed shield that blocked you from visually seeing anything on this phone except for the display, and did it for this phone and put it in your guys' hands, I guarantee you guys would not see much of a difference. On user experience and stuff like that, you would not see a giant difference. And that's just because they perform pretty damn good. Let's be real about it. And so like the future of the A series could be something that Google definitely capitalizes with, besides just making phones and an earbud. Like, can you guys imagine if they decided, this year, 2026 coming up, to drop the Pixel 11, the 11 Pro, 11 Pro XL, and the 11, I'll call it the 11 Fold. Let's stop calling it the Pro Fold. Let's call it the Pixel 11 Fold. And the Pixel 11s come out in August, the 11 Fold comes out in October. But wouldn't it be so cool if the Pixel Watch 5 came out, so the Pixel Watch 5 series, and then the 5 XL series, right? So the 45 millimeter version. And then they also released a Pixel Watch A, along with the Pixel Buds 3A, if they want to continue an annual upgrade from that. Because remember, we hadn't had an actual upgrade to the Pixel Buds A for so long, and I still have and use my Pixel Buds A. I still use them. And am I getting the Pixel Buds 2A? You bet your freaking butt I am. That's on my Christmas wish list for this year. And my wife knows, and I already know what she's gonna do. She is going to order them for Christmas and wrap them and have them under the tree for me. So I can be expecting the Pixel Buds 2A. How cool would it be to have, a Pixel Watch A series? I mean, I still, if you guys don't know, I haven't upgraded. I still use my Pixel Watch 1. Like, this is the OG one that the community gifted to me a couple years ago. I still use it. Battery's not all day, but, it makes it through my day. So by the time I'm ready to go to bed, I don't really like sleeping with the watch on, so I can take it off. I can throw it on a charger. Presto, it's charging. It's ready for me in the morning when I wake up. And it still gets all my notifications. It still does everything I want it to do. So, yeah, it's still usable, still daily drivable. But it would be cool if they brought a Pixel Watch A. Of course, something I would say to be a bit more sturdier, okay? I wouldn't mind it having, a plastic chassis, like a plastic body, with the sensors being the only part that's glass on the bottom and then glass on top. I wouldn't mind that at all whatsoever. Of course, other people would be like, oh man, that's pretty damn cheap. But that's the point. That is the point, to lower the price and give you modern day specifications of the Pixel Watch. So like what the Pixel Watch 5 would have, or maybe if they did specifications of the Pixel Watch 4 and just regurgitated it into a cheaper form factor for a more sellable price. And I would say capping out at the LTE or 5G model of it, capping out at, $200 for it, and then, $150 for the non-5G, non-LTE model, right? So the Wi-Fi Bluetooth only model being $150. Like, that would be pretty dang cool. The Buds are already like $179 starting out price-wise. So why not? Why not develop a lot around the A series? Why not create this budget ecosystem for the budget-conscious people out there? Like, that's my perspective. Instead of killing the A series devices, like, lean into it. Create more of that A series. And then you have like your top of the lines, your flagship, and then the Pro model flagship and the foldable flagship. And then you got the higher flagship quality watch. You have the Pro Buds. You have that. And if you're making an over-the-ear cuffed headphones, make them. Why not? Nothing Tech is doing it. CMF is doing it. Apple's been doing it. Samsung, probably did it. I don't remember if they did or didn't, but you can join up with that. You can fit in with that. You can lean into that, and then you have your top of the line premium, especially since we are getting Android PC. So not an adaptation that bonds with Windows, but a full-fledged operating system, Android, on home computers, on home computing. You'll be able to, buy a home computer that's preloaded with, the Android OS software. Like, Android OS is evolving. If people don't know this, it's evolving. It's definitely going to evolve. Now, there are some things about the evolution of Android OS that's going to piss people off, but once that happens, once they talk about it, about this thing of Android PC, and people are complaining about it, people are upset about it, I'm going to remind people that people basically drove it into that. When you absolutely, push a company and you scream you want it to be like Apple and its software, when they tend to start doing it, don't be mad because you pushed them into that direction. Google should just drop the price of the standard Pixels and get rid of the A series. I mean, yeah, but I doubt that it would do that. If they drop the price of the standard Pixels, right? Then what initially do we get from that point that would even be considered? Because you gotta remember, Samsung has a budget lineup, OnePlus has a budget lineup, even Nothing Tech has a budget lineup. So where would Google compete with them? Because they need to compete in that market. There's a market of flagships they got to compete with, but they can't just take the base model Pixel 10 and say, well, this is our budget option, and throw it in there against, because can you imagine if they do that and Samsung capitalizes and thinks, oh, okay, well, we're going to throw our Galaxy S25 in there. That would knock out companies like Nothing Tech and, even OnePlus, if you believe it or not. OnePlus will get knocked out there because the fact is they would have to switch up dropping, an R model in favor of putting their base flagship in there. And that's just really saying the premise that base flagships are the affordable, means that every year after year, we're going to see price increases. We're going to lose the ability to have affordable devices. We would have to go with something that we really don't want to. Maybe something like Blue or New Mobile. Those things would take over that area plot point. I don't know if you've used any of those phones ever, but while they do kind of bring a pretty good experience, if you were to put it side by side with a Pixel 10, 10 will smoke those things out of the water. iPhone would blow those things out of the water, So it's I see where you're getting with it. Your idea probably is just the 10 is the 10 is a 10, so let that be the lowest one on the tier of phones that Google releases. And in a perfect world, that would seem to be, right? Having a Pixel 10 priced at $499. That's how much I bought my Pixel 10 for. I didn't get this at $799. This is why I can't resonate with people who complain for $799 it's a ripoff. Well, I didn't get it at $799. I got it at $499. So to me, it was a deal. And that's why I look at it through those lenses, through that experience is how I give my experience on a Pixel 10. But I don't think they should get rid of it, honestly. I appreciate you, coming off with that. If you want to elaborate deeper into it, feel free, man, because I don't excommunicado people for having a different opinion. So if you want to put in the chat good points as to why they should get rid of the A series, I would love that because other people can read it and they can hear all different sides. I just think that Google should lead into it. Honestly, I feel like that Google can be the one because I thought they were. When they released the Pixel 10, not Pixel 10, the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 7 at $599, remember that? That was the price point of launch, and it just had everybody shocked. And I feel like that was a comfortable sweet spot for their base prices. But I also thought they were gonna, stick with the pricing they did with the Pixel 4a, or at least go $50 more, right? Because remember, the Pixel 4a shocked us all when it released at $349. Whereas the original A series device, the Pixel 3a, released at $399. So between $349, $399, my opinion was a sweet spot for an A series device. And I really thought that they could do that. That would be a very big push. They did it back then when it really didn't matter because they weren't making their own in-house processor. They were kind of still trying to find their identity. I feel like that now would have been the best time to do that. It would have been so cool. I mean, literally would have put Pixel in the forefront running, right? Can you imagine the Pixel 10 being sold at $599 as its default price? No discount, no trade-in, nada. Just $599 for the Pixel 10, 128 and 12 gigabytes of RAM, and then you have the Pixel 10a launch at $349.99 to $399, depending. That's where I would really want it to be at, and to have a Pixel Watch A, to have continuation of annual releases of the Pixel Buds A, even going to a Pixel Tab A. They would have to come up with a different name though, because that's just too close to Samsung and their Galaxy Tab A. So, but to release a budget constructed tablet. I mean, the Pixel Tab, did pretty good. I played with one at Best Buy. I still haven't got one yet. I just really don't see a need for me to have one. Like, I would so love to get a Pixel Tab, but it's just gonna sit around and not really do anything. Like, my Pixel Book sits here, like my Pixel Book Go. That's what they could call it, the Pixel Tab Go. Kind of like, uniting the, Pixel Book. Yeah, it just sits here. Like, every now and then I'll grab it, I'll open it, I'll probably like load up some game emulators on my Pixel Book Go and play some games on it, and that's about the extent of what I do, or watch movies on it when I'm traveling. But I use a desktop computer, like when I do podcasts and stuff like that. Maybe I use this on the side to like search up information where I, because like I don't have a very powerful PC, and so sometimes if I'm doing, like searches on the browser and stuff like that, it could start hindering the video stream. It can glitch it out and everything like that. I really don't like that. So yeah, what's up? The Holly music is, oh my God. Thank you so much. I did not know. Crap. Oh my God. I totally screwed up the live stream. Thank you, B-Tech, for letting me know. I forgot to lower the audio. I am so sorry, everyone. Oh my God. That's like a whole 40 minutes of just loud music. See, even live streamers screw up. So I am very sorry. I don't mind actually starting over everything again. Like, I'm not gonna kill the live stream, but I'm just gonna start over. Probably edit later on and cut like 40 minutes of this out. Actually, you know what I can do for the replay? I'll just record. No. I wanted things to be more clear. So if it sounded muffled and it was too loud, and I'm pretty sure it was way too loud, I don't mind starting it all over again. And just, oh man. And you know what sucks too? I had some really good points I made about the Pixel 10a, and it was in that spur of the moment. What I'll probably end up doing, because I was recording it, thank God I'm using OBS. What I could actually do is that when this live stream's over for like the replay for everyone else to see it, I could just remove the background noise with my editor, and then oh my God, today's just been a day. Man, thank you so much. Oh man, thank you so much. Anybody in the chat watching, if the music is too loud, don't ever be afraid to tell me. Sometimes, like, I got so much going on, I may have forgotten to reduce the background music, and like, God, if I blew your eardrums, I am so sorry. If you guys had a hard time hearing me, I am so sorry. But for the most part, that segment, which I just stopped the recording of it so I can actually edit it later and then put it up for people to see without the background music. Oh my God. Oh man. That was tough. I was so excited to get into today's topic discussion about the Pixel 10a, and yeah, so instead of like just regurgitating everything, because I felt like I had some really good points I said in the beginning and trying to remember all those points, I am just going to edit the live stream and re-upload it later on today. So I think they should go back to making Pixel devices less expensive. Yeah, I agree. They should. That's what I was saying. Like, with the A series devices, they should bring down the pricing on them. Same thing with the flagship models. I feel like that they should bring those down. They should bring them to, like I said, like the Pixel 4a pricing, at least starting off for the A series, and then go back to the pricing that it was for the Pixel 6 and 7, $599. That's something that I would really want them to do. It definitely would stand out. It definitely would have more eyes come their way. Not just the techies, not just the geeks that, they were concerned were the only people that were interested in their products, but it would have other people looking in their direction. I mean, I don't know what it is and who's like the head front person of, the Pixels. But here's one reason why, like, I feel like they could go cheaper in pricing. And it's an argument that a lot of people are saying. You guys can sound off if you guys agree with me or not. But one of the reasons that I feel like that they could go cheaper with it is because Google they make a huge amount of money. aside from selling the Pixel phones and the hardware that they build, search makes them a lot of money. Advertisement makes them a lot of money. YouTube makes them a lot of money. So they could literally, put the price down and still keep an A series around and put that price down. Because it's something that Apple can't really do. It's something that, well, actually Apple could, but they wouldn't do it. They would refuse to do it. They would use that as a positioning to make themselves seem so much better. We're so good that we believe in our products so much that we don't need to chop our prices down. No, spend a lot of your money to get our stuff is what they're really going to say. But if anyone who's smart will see through that BS and they'll go with they'll go with something that's more affordable and giving, right? All the AI features, all the goodness baked into Android, and then wrapped up nicely in a nice little gift package, which is the hardware, the phone itself, right? And at a cheaper price. Man, that would be outstanding. I think that's what a lot of people want. You're fine with the power button sensor? I mean, yeah, no. So, like, one annoyance for me is a side button fingerprint sensor. To me, it's absolutely annoying because if you're holding your phone left-handed, well, you just triggered yourself to have to use your index, and sometimes, it can just be absolutely annoying to do that. In-display sensors don't really bother me at all whatsoever, and they've proven to be reliable in any instance and in any case. Going back to putting in a biometric sensor on the back of the phone, that would be a unique thing, but like, what if they move the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor to the back of the phone over the logo? I mean, the back of the phone is glass, so imagine putting your finger there to unlock the phone. That'd be kind of crazy. But going back to like a physical one, no, not for what they're trying to do. Especially, one of the things that I was gonna make mention in this live stream that I think that they should do. In fact, they should actually just bring back some of the hardcore features of Pixel. One of them is bringing back Project Soli. I want them to bring this back into their smartphones. It was great when they had it in the 4 and 4XL. A lot of people really kind of crapped on it because the vision of what it could be really didn't cross a lot of people's minds because they were more heavily focused on the fact that it was like an $899, Pixel phone, right? $899 for the base model. I think it was $999 for the XL. And so a lot of people were really hung up on the price that they never really took the chance to even think about what could be with Project Soli. Project Soli is the reason why the Pixel 4 and 4XL had one of the fastest face recognition unlocks that was very secure. I mean, you won't even find that level of security today in newer Pixels. Even if you have face unlock, it's not as good as the 4XL. The 4XL utilized the Soli chip, the radar sensor from Soli. It utilized that combined with imaging to create a 3D model of your face to allow for a secure and fast unlock. And that's why it was able to unlock in near darkness, was because once you have that 3D model gridding done, the camera and the radar sensor can literally grab that off of you in the dark to confirm you are you and then unlock the phone for you. You can't do that today. Even with the Pixel 10 with face unlock, you can't do that today. That is why when people are talking about, well, with the Pixel 10, face unlock is good, but when it's dark, it's not that good. That's why it doesn't have the Soli radar chip inside of it. It doesn't have the Soli radar sensor inside of it. So how can it? How can it replicate? Like it's beyond me that not even Google will come out and tell people. Like that's the problem to your guys' request of a near identical iPhone style type face unlock. Tell the truth. That's all Google's got to do. If the Google told the truth, I'm pretty sure people would have probably accepted and wanted. But maybe there's something going on with the Project Soli radar chip. Because remember, it was still in alpha. It wasn't even a beta. It was an alpha at the time that they showcased it in the Pixel 4 and 4XL. So who's not to say that it's still not ready for prime time? Okay, but maybe take the core aspects of it that made the face unlock on the Pixel 4 and 4XL, maybe take that aspect of it and apply that into future Pixel devices. At least for me, I would say, it's good as golden. So I mean, it's like the move to create a much more secure and faster facial recognition unlock can be done. if Google so chooses. Right now, they're not choosing to do it, and I just don't know why. But in-display sensor doesn't bother me at all whatsoever. Especially with the Pixel 10, I haven't had any missed targeted fingerprint reads. I just haven't. On my 9A, yeah. Optical, of course. Optical is a bit different. Optical requires the light. This is why when you use a phone with the optical fingerprint sensor and you touch on the area you're supposed to unlock it, it lights up really bright. Because that's how it reads your fingerprint. Ultrasonic does it differently. That's why a lot of people that had Samsung Galaxies would always like tease Pixel users being like, yeah, we have ultrasonic fingerprint sensor. It's much faster than your guys' optical. Because they knew that's exactly what it was. You get a better read and a faster unlock using ultrasonic. So yeah, I would keep it in display. One less sensor really thing to worry about on the outer shell of the body. Everything's under the display. The display technology itself calls for it. You replace it, you're good. I've seen, older like physical hardware biometric fingerprint sensor buttons that, either they can't fix it if it breaks or it costs a lot, to fix. And that's just a singular thing on its own. Man, oh man. But aside from that, yeah, I would lean into the Pixel A series. I would lean into it. I would make an A series watch. I would continue the production of the A series buds, the phone itself. I mean, lean into it. Have some, Chromebooks. Have a tab. Pixel Tab Go, the budget version of the Pixel Tab. There's so much that the Google can do, and it's like sometimes I wonder, do they really want to compete or not? They make all these like advertisement campaigns such as what is it? What was like the best phones forever ad campaigns and stuff like that, and it's just yeah. You always get misreads? That's very interesting. Well, I mean, I'm not the gold standard for it, right? So just because I don't have any misreads, it doesn't mean that other people don't have any misreads. But I'm very OCD about my screens and stuff like that. So if I'm going to be unlocking my phone, my thumbs, which are the registered, digits on my hand that are used to unlock the phone, my fingers absolutely stay, well, they're not fingers or thumbs. They stay free of debris that won't obstruct when tapping on to have it, launch and open. So I mean, I'm not saying people's hands are dirty. I'm just saying that if you notice that your fingers are dirty and that's what you use to unlock your phones, probably best practice is to keep your fingers as clean as possible. Because even having like barbecue sauce on your thumb can totally distort the recognition of your fingerprint and just not unlock for you. Yeah, 10 Pro uses ultrasonic. So it's a little bit of a different way that it unlocks with your fingerprint, in a more efficient way, more accurate way of unlocking. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I got for today when it comes to the Pixel A series. I mean, I'll check the poll back right now. See what's happening here. Looks like we got majority people want the A series lineup killed. Right? Out of 7 votes so far, 71% chooses get rid of the A series, and 29% says keep it. I'll let the poll run for a little bit longer. No Cheeto dust. Yep. No Cheeto dust. No pizza sauce. Thoughts on Crown Jewel? It's like Seth Rollins stopped calling himself the greatest. You keep getting injured. Though it's funny what happened on Raw. But everyone was like, I see that coming a mile away. Yeah, I don't think they were gonna break up the division if Seth wasn't injured, but I don't know. Maybe Maybe Thursday, if you're off Thursday, we can talk about that on the Deathlock podcast. Oh yeah, no, I already figured that. I already seen all the talks about it on social media. Everyone's just like, people are funny too. Some people are just like, oh yeah, Becky should be the mastermind that took over the vision, and she's been cheating on Seth. I'm like, man, you people are evil. Some wrestling fans are evil. To want to have a storyline that Becky cheats on her husband with Braun, that's sad as hell. Like, like maybe you don't have a girlfriend in your life, but don't be wishing that type of crap on. Oh man, I don't know. Well, no, we could talk about it on the podcast another day. I got a couple of things I gotta take care of later on today, and then I got a couple of things I gotta start. I start making moves and stuff like that in place for when. Oh, you work Thursday afternoon, but you'll be free in the evening. Yeah, we can do it in the evening. We can do it in the evening time because I got this next couple of weeks. Things are gonna be kind of chaotic for me. So like, I can go live early. Like today, I went live at 8:20 in the morning. It's almost an hour. Um, and I had to go live this early because I have a lot of things I gotta do in the afternoon. So I'm leaving at the end of the month to go see my dad, but also like I said, my sister's coming in from Hawaii, so she's coming in. She's staying here, so I'm trying to get like things ready for her and my niece because one of my nieces is coming with her, and they're gonna stay at my house because I don't want them to go to a hotel. There's no reason to spend money to go to a hotel, but we're gonna be spending for an Airbnb out when we go to see my dad. So it's like I get those things ready. Got to shop for certain things, accommodations. I like to accommodate my sister when she's here, so she's comfortable. And then also got to make sure that like certain bills are paid because I'll be out of town. Yeah, I got a lot of things going on in the next 2 weeks, so timing is going to be pretty tough. So I talked to her about it. Um, she's not down to do one while she's here because she would rather focus on sightseeing and going places. So there won't be a podcast with me and her per se as of right now. And for the future of that, it might be in 2026 that she and I start that back up because she is in college. She went back to college, she's trying to get a degree in business. And I think she said she's taking a semester off. So she has this current semester that she's in that ends in December. I think she's taking the spring semester off, so she won't start back up with college until October. So probably January of 2026, if she wants to do podcasting with me again, that will probably be when it happens. So I already talked to her about it, so the seed is planted in her head. I just have to let it marinate for a while until she comes at me and says, "Hey, let's do this," and then we could make something happen. I don't know if she wants to like build her own YouTube channel and do it on her channel. I think that's a possibility. And then in that way, there's no confusion. One thing I've learned about YouTube is like if I did it on this channel, it would not have the reach that she would want. Only because this channel is known as a tech channel. So to do a topic outside of tech is not going to get much reach. Look at any of my live streams where I don't talk tech in it, and they're below 100 views because YouTube's not going to push it for people to see. It's not tech. If it's tech, it's going to push it. And if it sucks, no one's going to watch it, which I know I've made some shitty live streams in the past week or so. I've just been really drawing a blank on things to talk about. And I wanted to hold off on talking on this subject until now. I didn't want to do it, back in the end of September or anything like that because we just, had the Pixel 10 release in August. And then, the Pixel Fold came out and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot the Fold was coming. So I held back a little bit just to allow people to get their, Pixel 10 Fold experiences out there before I start talking about the 10A and the future of the A series devices. So yeah, now I just gave myself extra work having to edit because the most important body of this podcast, I stupidly forgot to lower the background music. And so it's like, the music is loud, and I know you said you can hear me, but it's still, it's going to be distracting to people. So I got to go and edit that segment, which thankfully I was recording while live streaming. So I can just take that recording and run it through my editor and remove the background music Maybe put a different one in there, or maybe just leave it without background sound and just have my audio. That's it. And yeah, so that's gonna be superly interesting. I wish I knew that it was really bad. Not really bad, but I really wish that I was told that the volume was loud. So I'm gonna put it out there for people to know. I'm not a dickhead. If the music is too loud, please tell me so I can adjust it, because I want you guys to have a good experience on my live stream. So if the music is overbearing, too loud, if it's distracting, tell me. I can turn it off. I can lower it. I just can't believe that that's the one thing. I knew I was forgetting something in the beginning of the live stream, because I started off. Normally when I start off my live streams, I start off on this page right here, this little screen. I start on this just because I'm still like doing a couple of things. So you guys don't need to see me doing those things while getting the podcast ready. And I'm just talking to you guys to let you know that things are getting set up. And then I switched to this, but I forgot to go to the volume tab, which is right next to, my different scenes for OBS, and hit the volume to go down. I totally forgot to do it. So it's like, oh my God. We got 8 votes now. 62% say kill off the A series, and 38% say no. I'll keep the poll going until I'm about to end. I got a few more minutes to hang out and chill. Some people, I know when people comment on my videos or on my live streams without actually watching it, and it's so bad. I wonder if people ever wonder, can I figure out that they're not actually watching my shit? They're just commenting. So a lot of the comments get reviewed. Okay, so I have stuff held just because my kids go to my YouTube page. They go to my videos. I don't need my kids to see what people say that's very derogatory. And so one comment was held. I don't know why it was held, but it was held. And I read it, and then the person was like, oh my God, I know it sucks when if the Pixel 8a crapped out on you and had battery problems, man, mine's did, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, well, the person had a bad experience with the A series. But I know they didn't actually watch when I did the saying goodbye to Pixel 8a. I know they didn't watch it, because if they did, then they would have known nothing happened to the Pixel 8a. It's sitting right here on my desk. It's just back in the box, and it's going to a new home. I'm giving it to my dad. He's still using the Pixel 6a. The battery's swollen on that phone, and I'm afraid one day he's gonna use it, and something's gonna happen. The battery is just gonna explode, and all that battery fluid is just gonna spray everywhere. I don't need my dad getting burned. He doesn't even really hold it to his ear. He's all like, he can still use it the way it is, because he connects a Bluetooth to it when he's on phone calls. He doesn't ever hold the phone to his ear. But what's the point? Well, if his Bluetooth fails and he needs an emergency call, he's gonna have to hold it up to his ear. So that's why I'm just like, I'm gonna upgrade him to the Pixel 8a. I'm not using the 8a. It's just sitting around doing nothing. And I don't want to give up my 7a, because it's the coral color, and it has that limited edition Google case that Grant Likes Tech gave me. So the 7a is gonna stay with me. So I'm like, the 8a is not doing nothing. I'll give it to my dad. I use the 9a. As my secondary phone, along with the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So let's give my dad the 8a. I just want to see my dad's face though when he gets it, because it's green. Every phone that my dad has had has been like some sort of neutral color, like black or charcoal gray, or the Pixel 6a that BTech sent to my dad. That one I believe was white, right? It was white. It was with gray on the top. That's probably the only different color. So my dad had the Pixel 4a. That one was black. My dad has had previous Samsung Galaxy devices that were either a dark color, black color. So this will be my dad's first kind of vibrant color phone, green. And I didn't get him a case for it, because I would rather have my dad order his own case. I told him last night when I talked to him on the phone what he's getting, so he can get on Amazon and order him a case that has magnets, because he has a magnetic dash mount for his phone. And so he can get a nice case with magnet mounts for it so he can dock it when he drives. Yeah, it was Panda. Yeah. Unfortunately, that phone was one of the bad batches that had the battery issue. The battery's swollen. I should tell my dad to take a picture of it. I seen it on a video call. because when he was using his laptop to video chat with me, he showed me the phone. And yeah, you can see like on the back plastic plating of the phone, you can see the outline of the battery. It is swollen. I'm surprised that the glue on the edge of the back panel hasn't lifted off yet. Um, and my dad keeps it in a case too, which also has me concerned because that's like locking in that pressure. Um, yeah, so he's getting the Pixel 8a. I'm giving that phone to him. I always upgrade my dad, and then the reason why is because like I've been such a big fan of Pixels. I always talk my dad's head off about Google Pixels, and he made the switch from Samsung Galaxy to the Pixel, and he's actually been on Pixel A series because he doesn't like glass phones. He's always afraid they're going to shatter and crack. So I've always put him in a Pixel A series phone because it's polycarbonate. And now my dad will not switch from a Pixel at all, and it's not because he's in love with the AI features and stuff like that. My dad doesn't give a shit about those things. The reason why my dad loves the Pixel and sticks with the Pixel is because he doesn't have to relearn the design of another user interface. He doesn't have to figure out what the camera icon looks like. Like he has muscle memory of how the icons for the Pixels look, that he just knows what the camera one is, knows what the web browser one is. And so, you know, if people don't understand where I get my ideas for how smartphones are, it's not from the tech community, because I'm part of that community and I know what we think about when it comes to smartphones. But my case studies is my sister and my dad. They're not techies. They're not geeks per se in that nature. My dad is, but for other type tech stuff. Like my dad's into drones. He's into things, you know, to making a smart house, right? Like he's got a security system in his house that talks to you, like Jarvis. It's insane, but you know, my dad had spent a shiny penny installing that in his house. And that's the reason that he can leave his house. He can go on trips like to go see my younger sister up north, or going to Vegas with my stepmom and just having a time of their life. He doesn't really have to worry. The house is that damn smart. Motion sensors in the house and things like that. You can't even sneak in the house without setting off an alarm that's going to irritate the neighbors for one, and then automatically contacts emergency services. And the assistant talks to them. So if there's like the furnace goes and the house catches fire, emergency call, calls out, and the assistant's voice will talk with emergency first responders and tell them like, the furnace up in this level of the house is, has caused a fire. And it lets them know that it's an assistant and not a real person. So they don't expect, real 100% human interaction. But it's the coolest thing ever. I don't know. Maybe my dad is sketchy about letting me demo it for you guys because he doesn't want nobody to know what it is, to figure out how to bypass it, if there is a way to bypass it, which is understandable. But yeah, let's just say there is home security systems that's like that. And it's cool because the security company that he goes through, while it has the assistant that handles those calls, if it's a very intricate phone conversation, it will connect emergency first responders to an actual agent from the company that will take the call, and then they're able to see through like cameras and stuff like that what they're seeing in the house to be able to describe things. So that way fire department, police, they know what they're walking into. Coolest thing ever. Which is why I would love to one day own a home. I already told my wife, if we ever bought a house, like bought land and bought a house or built a house, I'd prefer to build a house because I would want to wire it for all the things that I want, including that particular security system. That would be so cool. And I wouldn't be afraid to demo it to you guys because, first of all, you guys ain't gonna find my house, and secondly, yeah, I believe in carrying, so don't show up unannounced. I do. Other people disagree with me. That's fine. Believe in what you want to believe in. I'm not here to change minds, but you're not going to change mine. I do carry. In this state, it allows you to. It allows you to open carry. It allows you with the permit to conceal. So yeah. But it's the coolest thing how tech kind of advances. It's so weird because tech advances in such a great way. And you're like welcoming all this newfound tech, but at the same time too, you see the negative impacts it does on humans, and you want to combat that. Like You want to get people back into being a part of life and not a part of the matrix. And, so it's very contradicting. All right, man, head to work, be safe, drive safe. And yeah, grab you something to eat on the way, man, so you ain't hungry. Nothing sucks worse than going to work and being hungry. Anyways, I'm going to end it anyways, too, right now. I've been live for about, an hour and 12 minutes so far. And I got to edit that first piece, which is the most important part. So, yeah, we just ended the poll. And the poll is done. So, again, for those who watch, I do apologize. I'm very sorry. I'm going to edit that segment and have it uploaded and whatnot, and I'll probably just like edit this one just for the last half of it. I feel so stupid and very embarrassing, but I'm human. I make mistakes, so I'm sorry again to all those out there who had to hear that loud Halloween music theme cheer and all that fun. Be safe out there, you guys, and yeah, stay tuned for more video dropping on the channel and a live stream this Friday. I'll probably go live Friday again. If I do another live, you guys will know because you'll get notifications. If you don't get notifications, turn it on so you do and you don't miss it. But I will talk to you guys later. Aloha.